All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So we will take a better look at the sector. I was a little sick last time and apologize, but we'll look at the usual five: TLRY, CGC, MSOS, SNDL, and HITI. And really, our grouping still remains. We're still looking at TLRY, CGC, and MSOS in the first tranche, and then SNDL and HITI do continue to be the strongest of the five. All right. What I am liking right now is it seems like these first three, the ones that aren't as good, are trying to get better. All right, you can see it right now on Tilray. We're actually over all five lines right now. Clearly, I need a better candle than that, but I do like that attempt right there. All right, CGC with the nice candle right here. We've been talking about this, right? The risk reward here has been a little bit, I don't want to use the word safer, but when you have a lot of moving averages so close to each other, it should be really hard to lose them all, right? And this literally went to the bottom and then shot right back to the top, right? Again, not as good as an escape attempt, but I'm going to call this an escape attempt and let's see what happens tomorrow, right? MSOS, same basic thought, right? Not quite the same escape, but I'm seeing a good holding of the moving averages. That was, oops, I moved a line. Dang, I don't know where that was. I'll find that. Let's do this correctly before I. Where was our last death line? It was probably the bottom of that. I might go back on the video and see if that's an accurate line or not. Right now I have it right there. My apologies to that. But basically what I was trying to do is say, hey, that was a scary couple candles right there, right? It looked like we actually did lose the 8 and the 20 pretty badly. 50 moving average does the job. You know, I'll get into the details later. The important part, like I said, is these first three look like they're getting better, all right? SNDL. I am still liking SNDL a lot because this thing literally never goes under the 8 and the 20, right? It does actually close. Oh no, look at that. Even this one, it closes right on the 20, not under it, right? So 245, I mean, sorry, 247, 247 for each. So truly never loses it. And then High Tide truly never loses it, right? This is holding the 8 and the 20 significantly better. It is why these two have been on the better side of the five, right? Really quickly, I am finally getting ready to close everything off with Raj and the interview. So this is going to be my formal request. I'm going to say it again when I get to the part. I am now looking for questions. I know there are a lot of people that watch all his interviews. They know the company way better than me. If you want to get a question asked, this is your opportunity, right? So I'll make sure everyone's aware of what we're going to talk about, him included, all the viewers included. But yeah, this is actually going to happen, and I'm excited to do it, right? So just cool right there. And then last thing, just to wind this out, look, the Dow Jones at the moment is sitting on the 8 moving average, all right? It's actually the exact same thing when you look at the S&P 500 and you look at NASDAQ, okay? Generally, I don't care about NASDAQ at all, barely even the S&P 500. I am more Dow Jones focused, all right? But when all three are at the 8 moving average, I think it's something to at least worth note, all right? The one advantage that the Dow Jones has, look, that if there's a big if here, if we lose the 8 moving average, the fall from the 8 to the 20 is relatively large. It's about what, 2%, give or take, right? When you look at the S&P 500, it is relatively large. I don't know the math right there as quick in my head, but that's a big fall right there. When you look at the Dow Jones, and again, when we're talking about weed, we're talking about the Dow Jones. We're talking about farming. We're talking about selling in a store. There's no online platform. There's no quantum computing AI happening here, right? Like this is Dow Jones farming and selling, right? The fall, if we lose the 8, isn't that bad on the Dow Jones. So in a lot of ways, looking in non-tech things, and you know me, I love tech, right? But looking in more Dow Jones industrial stuff, if there was going to be a slip, might be the safest thing because, hey, it's not that bad a fall if we lose the 8 and come to the 20 here, right? So watch all three. Look, personally, I want them all to bounce tomorrow on the 8 and go up, right? That's a lot easier, a lot better, a lot happier of trading, right? But it seems like the risk is a little bit less on the Dow Jones, and that actually is a good thing for us in the sector that we're looking at right now, right? So, cool. Before I do go any further, though, and I give you more on my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal, there's one there, there's a couple up there. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So, look, I'm chaptering these in 2 bunches. These first 3 here just seem like they're not as strong as the last 2, all right? Personally, I would love to chapter all 5 together. I really like sector unison. I really like it when all of them are moving. Obviously, I want them to all move up, right? But I like it when they're all moving together. And it's not as together as I would like, but like I said in the opening thoughts, I think today, maybe even combined with yesterday, but at least today, is starting to make me think these first 3 want to get better. All right, we look at TLRY, and I think this one's probably the best of the attempts, right? We went from we're rejecting a hard resistance to potentially losing the 8 and the 20. We truly never confirm anything, right? That's the first bad candle under it. Green is not confirmation. That's not a good candle. We'll call it a bad candle. Doji don't count. And then obviously we got back over them, and lo and behold, we're over both, right? So never really confirms the loss of anything. CGC, same basic story, right? We hit a hard resistance. We fall below the 8 and the 20. And like we said, when there's 3 or more, there's literally 4 right here, right? But when there's 3 or more moving averages, I only have 5. There's it's what I call a cluster, and it's hard to lose them all. And yeah, we were saying that the risk here would be less than the rest, and really that's basically what happened, right? It went to the lowest point we were expecting it to, and then like it should have, it bounced right back up, right? So not as pretty as TLRY, right? We're still under one of the lines. We are obviously under this little resistance that I have here, but I'm more interested in those lines, right? Get me over it, and I'll start thinking 160, reattempt that 200 right there, right? And then again, MSOS, exact same story. I really got to double check where this line was. I do apologize on that pudgy finger click from earlier, right? But we try to get over it. We actually are physically over it for a number of days, but just like I said, those other ones didn't confirm under. None of these really confirmed the break above, right? It was cool that we wicked this line that I had, but that's a good candle. Doji don't count. None of these are good enough greens to even be that first, let alone second, right? So again, like I said in the opening thoughts, it was a scary loss of the 8 and the 20, but yo, the 50 did well, right? This is a really hard, this is the first of the hard 3 lines to break up. This is the first of the 3 lines that's hard to break down, and yeah, we didn't even touch this thing, right? So real nice to see. Obviously, like I said with CGC, still physically under that moving average. Obviously, physically under one of the harder resistances. This was a previous death line, right? But I like that these first 3 are trying to get better, right? So what are we looking for on these first 3, right? Dun dun dun. It has to be this. It's basically what we wicked, right? So I'm roughly clicking at 50% of this candle right here. I'm clicking at 132. Looks like the high of the day today was 133, right? So yeah, that definitely makes sense that that's what we tested today. That is what we need to close over. I'm just zooming out to see if there's another candle. Okay, look, 134 is gonna be our line. So I'm gonna drop it. I'll delete it really quickly. It's basically the bottom of that thing. No, that's the one. Like, let me just physically take it up just so we see it. It's truly exactly the bottom of that. It's almost the top of that. It's not exactly the 50% I was clicking on, but I think what I do like, it's higher than today's wick high. So 134 is going to be our money line. Break 134, and I'm going to start expecting 151 retest, all right? really, as long as we don't go below, is that too low? I think 118 is a decent, but between 120 and 118, I think is a good. I don't want to lose it. Truly, you really can go as low as 115 and probably still be okay, but I'd like to be a lot closer to 120 if this thing was going to go down, right? Look, it's not a big cluster, but the 8 and the 20 can become a little cluster of its own. I really don't want to trade horizontal on these, right? So hopefully the 8 actually does start going up. Hopefully the momentum from all this goes. You know, the one news thing I saw, I really wish I said this in the opening thoughts. I'll try to say this a little bit later as well. I live in California, right? I saw that California lowered the tax laws. If I'm not mistaken, I saw that it went down from 25% previously all the way down to 15%. That's actually a pretty significant drop right there, right? So still a little high, I'll be honest with you, especially in a place where it's easy to get recreational stuff, but nonetheless, it's a good step forward in an important state, and hopefully others will follow, right? So I don't know if anyone else saw that. I don't know how important that is, but hey, I mean, I'll at least call that out. So we talked about the lines up and down right there. Let's come to CGC. What are we looking for? Look, I think it's pretty much this right here. Get me over 146. All right, if you can get me over 146, we're going to make a big reattempt at this 160 line. All right, that is basically what we're looking for. Again, this is a really hard line, right? I have a whole mess of lines up here that I don't know. I should probably delete these things. We're a little too high up, right? But I mean, even if I keep zooming out, right? Just keep zooming out all the way since back here in 2021, we've pretty much been under that purple line, except for that little couple month window right there, right? So that it's not an easy purple line. We did just test it. I really want to test it again. There's an importance to testing an important line as quickly as possible, right? Like you want to hit it, then hit it again, then hit it again, then hit it again, then boom, right? Like it's gonna take a good amount of hits on this thing, and if we can attack it once and then again in the next couple weeks, and then again and again, that'll be big, right? So we're looking for that 160 attack. It's really all about that 146 right there. Sorry. Again, we're in this cluster, right? I would say the next point down is going to be 137, and then from there it's basically down to 131. All right. I do not want to go below 128. If this loses 128, bad things will happen. It should be really difficult to lose that set of 4, and we've seen that already for at least this month, right? So, and then last in this cluster right here, we're going to talk about MSOS. We need to get, oh man, I wish I knew what this line was. This is our previous death line, right? I'm going to say it was that. I'm going to use the bottom of that candle right now, and I'll go back and double check it. I'm a little annoyed. I don't mind this being the line, though, because it's at least almost 50% of that one and that one. Look, get over 5, and I'm going to start thinking 6. Okay? Maybe if your risk tolerance is a little lower than or higher, I don't know how you want to measure that, right? 480, 484 might be a decent little entry about 20 cents earlier, right? That's about 5%, right? But maybe that 480-ish line is an interesting entry. Break 5 and run to 6. That's a beautiful double-digit gain right there, right? So that's what I'd be looking for. MSOS, look, if you go below 440, you're only going to come down to 414, 415. I say only, it's almost a 10% drop. So I think the easy thing to say is don't go below 440. If you lose 440, you're going to go, I just said the same things and I apologize, right? But you get the idea, right? Get me over 5. I really like this thing. 480-ish if you're a little bit on the aggressive side, all right? Look, we haven't had a good federal rumor in a bit, and I'm going to say it one more time to end this section. Give me a sprinkle of rumor and better things, great things can happen, right? We really did well with that first fuel. We did, right? It gave us a nice pop from, really, it was down here. We were in the 3s and it ran us to the 6, even if you want to call it 4, because it was a little higher in the 3s, right? That's a real big double-digit gain right there, right? So it's cooled off It's for sure cooled off, but hey, we're actually still at 50% of that initial rumor pop, right? Obviously, we're still way over the actual candle itself. We actually never closed below it. And realistically, we're still over the gap up moment, right? So the rumor point is still holding us here. We just need a little bit more. And trust me, it's the exact same view on pudgy fingers, TLRY, right? 50% candle here. We're actually well over the 50% rumor pop here, right? Like even maybe it was this one. Is it this one? I don't know, whatever. You can tell I'm lost. You get the point I was saying. It actually, if I'm right, if it is this one, this actually looks even better on this. So, cool. I wish I ended it on a high point, but let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Look, I'm going to start this section with SNDL because I feel like I'm going to talk a little bit more about high tide because I do have an interview that I'm trying to get some viewer help with. But look, SNDL has been the top two for a bit now, right? This thing has really nicely broke all five and flown. And then as it flew to a crazy high, look in the box over there, an 86 RSI. That's a really high number, right? It broke all five, flew crazy high RSI. RSI came all the way down to an incredibly healthy 37. One more time, it was at an 86 if you're looking in the box over there. Very, 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 very healthy 37. And all it did was basically stay horizontal. Yeah, it came down just a little bit, but that is an incredible feat of strength to go from that high to that low in RSI and not give up that much money. And during that entire moment, we were actually nowhere near so we were missing the average 50 volume. We were dropping RSI. We had red over green MACD. This thing went horizontal. Strength. Right? Like that is what holding the 8 and the 20 better than the rest looks like, right? And look, just like I was saying with TLRY, right? If I like this attempt, I like the SNDL continuation a lot more, right? That's a real healthy 60 and a nice green over red on the RSI. For sure, it's not the same on the MACD, but I'll take the positive with it, right? Volume was low. This is probably the one thing that's annoying me on this chart. I think that's the easy thing to say. Volume is low. I like this candle. I do. I really like this candle. It's not much, but like that's the highest candle and clearly we're above it, right? I think the next point I'm looking for is 262. Break 262 and I'm going to start thinking 290 again. Right? So SNDL, I know that looks like a little candle. I know that looks like a little 2% thing. I really do like that candle right there, right? This thing is very bullish as low as 245. I'll call it bullish as low as 240. I really don't want to lose 240. But yeah, really, I'll be honest with you. I think I'm expecting this thing to go to 260 and up, right? Again, this volume is bothersome. I would have loved to continue yesterday's volume because this doji to that candle would have looked a lot better, even if that's all it was, just a 2%, that if the volume was up here. If we were just a little bit above it, I'd be so much happier. But overall, how can I be upset here, right? Look, our weekly RSI is still a little high. Our weekly RSI is still battling a a nearly impossible line that we've been nowhere near except for this last little moment right here, right? So there is a difficulty that this stock is seeing because of this. But hey, overall, I like this reattempt that's setting up on the daily. I'm curious to see how it goes with the weekly because really what this thing just did was went from a really high 91 down to it's in the 70s. It's a high 70, but whatever. It went from the 90s to the 70s, back into the low 30s, maybe into a little like there's a lot of high crazy RSIs right now, and we gotta decide how to use them. For me, live and die by the lines is an easy way to use them, right? So I am liking SNDL. You've got my thoughts right there. I'm probably gonna chapter this on its own thing. So like I said, I'm gonna talk about high tide next. Hey, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. So look, let's come into high tide. So Before I get into the technical thoughts, hey, I really do have an interview planned with Raj. So we talked a couple weekends ago. Man, I got so sick. I don't even remember when it was, but my plan this weekend is to email him to coordinate a date and really to at least provide some initial questions. All right. I personally would like to break it out into like a couple different chapters, right? I think the first one I want to talk about is almost non-high tide specific things, right? Like I want to talk about the Canadian like economics, like how it looks in his eyes and what he thinks, right? I'm curious if he like really kind of even looks at the Nasdaq and stuff like that. I'm curious how much time he's now going to start looking into like Germany, right? Like now we've expanded, right? It's not like Canada's the only thing that matters. So how is he like splitting his time and this and that, right? So just a little bit of stuff like that. From there, obviously, this last earnings, and you know I'm going to talk about this earnings candle, this big candle right here, et cetera, right? So I'll talk about the immediate earnings on the technical video, but yeah, I want to know what questions do you have about the earnings, right? Did you listen to this last earnings right here in June, and did he hit all the guidance and all the expectations? Was anything missing? Was there any guidance that you wanted, right? Like, I really don't want the questions to be, hey man, do you smoke in the morning? Do you prefer indica? Like, I will share a quick story and then get into the technicals. I used to, when I first started trading, there was a stock called Ianthus. All right. And I was in this Facebook group in Ianthus, and Ianthus, dude, ends up setting up an interview with the CEO. All right. And dude, trust me, I was a dumb trader. I didn't even know what I was doing. Right. I should have been buying Amazon. I was buying these little penny stocks. Right. And we get on this live Facebook video with the CEO of Ianthus, and we're asking the dumbest questions as I look back and think about it, right? Like, it was such a waste of his time, right? Like, he could have been doing better things for the company, right? So, just my little disclaimer, but hey, please send me questions. You can email them to me if you want them to be private. You can like post them on the my chat stuff, and we'll see what others think. But yeah, that's the goal here. All right, so let's get into the actual technicals right now. I think even before the technicals, let's talk about fundamentally this earnings moment. So I posted this on Twitter, and look, obviously I have this interview with the guy, right? And I'm not trying to piss him off necessarily, but I am trying to still stay impartial. I really am. All right. When I saw the after hours pop on high tide, I felt something was different. All right. And what do I mean by that? Look, I've been covering this stock for a bit now, but just this year, let's talk about just this year. I remember this January earnings. I remember this March earnings. I know I posted on Twitter saying that I love the fact that they beat earnings per share. I remember there were a lot of positives in this one too, but this one went horizontal, and I'll talk about that later, right? But these first two earnings, the longs, the people that watched my video, the longs loved the earnings. The longs were still saying Raj is the best CEO, High Tide's the best fundamentals, despite the fact that the market didn't care. All right. That was drastically different on this last earnings. The market actually did care. The market made this a top 4, top 5 after hours popper, and it was a significant double digit popper too. It's not like it was like a 6-7%, right? It was like 17-ish%, right? So that was big. All right. And that to me made me believe the market was listening to the earnings like the longs used to. I think arguably it might have started on the last one, because instead of what everyone that watched, and hey, let me know if you disagree in the comments, right? But everyone thought it was good earnings, market didn't. Everyone thought it was good earnings, market actually said gap down and keep going, right? Everyone thought it was good earnings, and market didn't go down. It at least said, let's wait for the next one, right? And obviously some good sector stuff happened, but hey, even this one, it really looks a little horizontal, obviously right now, maybe a little high, right? But yeah, it was good. The problem was FOMC, all right? Listen, FOMC, when Powell gets on the microphone and talks to the nation, and he does it a couple times during the year, but FMOC itself, there's two more left this year, by the way. One of them might line up around the last quarterly earnings for HITI, all right? FOMC is the earnings call for the nation, right? The nation has to take a breath. Even as we are anticipating good things to happen, yo, the man can say one bad sentence and people freak out, markets drop, and we're all at the mercy of the ocean, right? So it made sense that it was just this crazy little doji the next day, right? Because earnings was after hours, right? And it makes sense to me that it had to go down. And then it made complete sense to me that after all of it kind of calmed down, we then pop. Look, I will sincerely say I didn't expect these last 3 days to go down. After this Thursday candle, look in the box, right? The high of the day was to the penny the close of the day, right? It was physically over this resistance line that I had drawn, right? Like, we actually, look in the box, we actually gap up a couple cents, but hey, we gap up to 4, right? And we actually go up a little bit higher to 406 before dropping, right? We actually don't even lose 50% candle. We basically get to 50% candle, right? I was surprised that these went down the last couple days. Our RSI wasn't crazy. I'm going to delete this line. It's not even that helpful right now, right? But yeah, nothing's crystal ball or anything. But hey, look what happened. The 8 and the 20 held, right? We didn't even actually use the 20. We held the 8 really well. It still kept us in this other tranche of 2, right? So I still like this. I like that we're back over 50% of this candle. Get me back over this line. That's what we're looking for, because again, we've talked about this line, right? We had it. I'm gonna zoom in. I'm trying to get the words in my head right. This line, this 396 was a support right here. All right, I'll zoom in. Let's just do it. Fine. We bounce, we go. We bounce, we fail. This went from a good support, a support that actually lasted almost half a year, right? Basically from the beginning of 2022 all the way till like May, a quarter of the year, right? From there, we've never touched it. It's hard to turn oops, give me a sec. It's hard to turn a previous support that's now a resistance back to support. So it does make sense to me that we've now tested it, but I actually said it a little bit earlier. I think it might have been on CGC. I like how many times we've tested this line in this quick window. Test, test, test. Give me one more test tomorrow, right? If we can't break it tomorrow, fine, just at least test it, and then maybe another one, right? This is a good low RSI right here. That's a little bit high on the daily, but I mean on the weekly, excuse me. But again, we've seen things push 90, right? So, you know, I think overall, turn this resistance into a support. Get me over it, and then maybe come back, and then let's go. Can make the daily happy and reset the weekly if I had to take a gander. But overall, look, we're holding the lines well. Truly, oh man, it's this. This thing it's bullish over 345. I obviously don't want to go that low, but it really is. It's actually, I think this is the line. That's 350. It's basically the same line. Let's use 355. It's very bullish over 355. Truth be told, I would love to never even go below 375. All right? Let's hold 50% candle. We can come this low, still be over the 20 moving average and be happy. And that's the lowest we're going to talk about right there. Cool. I like that. Cool. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so much.